Hello everyone, welcome to a new update, and today we are not going to discuss or make it a market update. Today we're trying to make you a little bit more knowledge in these markets, as the most common question that I've got in the past few weeks is, why are you focused on the Bitcoin bear? Well, let's make a video about it, and in which we can always discuss why the Bitcoin pairs are so important. What are those? Why should you be using those? Should you be buying through Bitcoin or through USDT? Also a very common question. But next to that, every Saturday from next now onwards, we're trying to do an educational video which helps you grow in your journey. It's one of the topics that I wanted to add into my YouTube channel, next to fundamental videos as well. So that's coming around too, and more interviews. And then we are basically there. So today we're kicking off with the topic, which is what are Bitcoin pairs and why are they important and why are they crucial for you to understand if you want to become a trader or an investor in the cryptocurrency markets. But before we're going to continue, do not forget to subscribe beneath and like this video if you enjoy the content. Also comment if you want to see some special content, of course. So let's get to it. Crucial tips for beginners trading altcoins. This is chapter 1, which is what are Bitcoin pairs and why are they importante? And yeah, let's just get to it. I mean, just get started, in which we can discuss why Bitcoin pairs first. Well, very simple. If you're trading altcoins, your primarily target is to increase your Bitcoin value, as during a bull market you would want to make more Bitcoin. So your spot position in a bull cycle is primarily Bitcoin, and through trading that Bitcoin to another altcoin, you try to increase Bitcoin, as that will give you, or that will make you outperform Bitcoin, through which you have more Bitcoin and you can compound your profits, right? Another example, if your primarily target is to increase your Ethereum, you'll want to look at Chainlink against Ethereum, because you want to trade your Ethereum to increase your Ethereum. So you want to trade Ethereum for Chainlink to increase your overall position in Ethereum, etc. So your primarily target is to increase your Bitcoin value, as during a bull market you'd want to make more Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the central currency in a bull cycle, and through altcoins you'd want to outperform Bitcoin, as I just explained. An example, if you value an altcoin like this, 50 link, well, that's double actually, $50 link USDT, you are valuing an altcoin through link Bitcoin and Bitcoin USDT. That's why you also saw recently that Bitcoin crashed heavily, or well, that's a clickbait title. It corrected heavily from 63k to 44. And during that period, the altcoin pairs against Bitcoin remain flat. So the US dollar value of your altcoin dropped down as well, but the actual value of the altcoin against Bitcoin remained flat. So what was the actual correction about? It was just about Bitcoin against USDT, or Bitcoin in itself. So valuing your altcoin against USDT is not the way to do it. Well, you can do it, but it's not that valuable at this stage, as everything is into a price discovery, and we're going to discuss that in a little bit. It doesn't make sense. Well, you want to look at the Bitcoin value to see whether Link is a good crypto to outperform Bitcoin in the coming period or not. So you can make, or you can define whether it's under or overvalued against Bitcoin, as Bitcoin is once again the central currency in a bull cycle. So then next, there are different cycles. We have discussed it earlier on the YouTube updates, and there are different phases. So you can see on the right of the screen, you can see that phase 1 is that Bitcoin is running heavily. We've seen that Bitcoin ran from 10 to 60k, and the moment that Bitcoin is consolidating, the money goes to Ethereum, which is the number 2 on the list. And now Ethereum has seen a pretty big run, and Ethereum is consolidating, and then the money goes to large caps as Litecoin, EOS, Ether Classic, Bitcoin Diamond, no, well, that's not a large cap, but a fork, Bitcoin Cash. All those large caps or Dino coins are outperforming Bitcoin at this stage, as the money goes through the cycle. What's next? Well, next is that everything is going to move. So mid caps, small caps, everything is going to run again. and then probably at some stage Bitcoin will start running again. So we're getting into a phase where altcoins can start outperforming Bitcoin, given the fact that the Bitcoin pairs are just getting into a bull cycle. However, at some stage, Bitcoin will start be breaking out because people are making profits in altcoins and they are swapping it to Bitcoin, which pushes the price of Bitcoin against USDT upwards until a stage where it starts to break out, and then more people are jumping over, which means that your US dollar value for altcoin remains stable. Bitcoin USDT breaks out heavily, and the Bitcoin value of your altcoin decreases heavily while the USD value remains relatively flat. So at some stage you don't want to be in altcoins because you're going to be destroyed in your Bitcoin value, and you would have been better off by holding Bitcoin rather than your cryptocurrency or your altcoin. So in the past year or in the past months, you were better off by holding Bitcoin, while now you might be better off by holding your altcoins, given that that could be giving you a higher ROI. I've made an example which we can see on this slide. Imagine if you have one ETH that's worth $1,000. One Bitcoin is at that stage at 10k. Then you can make the calculation: $1,000 divided by $10,000, which is ETH Bitcoin is 0.1 Bitcoin. However, at some stage your one ETH is worth 1.5k. One Bitcoin is at that stage 20k. Then ETH Bitcoin is 0.075 Bitcoin. So you've made a profit in USD, so you're up about 50% in USD, but you're down 25% in your Bitcoin value. And remember, your initial target is to increase your Bitcoin value in the bull cycle, because then you can keep compounding. If you would swap the 0.1 Bitcoin at the first stage when one ETH was still 0.1 Bitcoin, and you swapped it from ETH to Bitcoin, you would have had $2,000. So understanding the altcoin cycles and the Bitcoin pairs can grant you massive knowledge through which you can start compounding the actual profits throughout the cycle. That's what we're doing in our platform as well. So there's way more educational content over there, and we're posting that week in, week out. I'm also sharing my entire strategy, additional trade IDs, also multiple markets. So check out the website in the description where you can become a member. But this is the overall concept that you should be starting to understand. So if you'd swap that 0.1 Bitcoin from each ETH towards Bitcoin, you would have made more money. So at some stage, it's better to have Bitcoin because then you were making more money. And at some stage, it's better to have an altcoin than Bitcoin because then you're making a higher ROI. And if you do those swaps well, you're going to compound your money. And I would literally argument to dive into the entire concept of compounding your profits. If you do that, you're outperforming the market significantly. So, swapping during the cycle and timing the markets well through Bitcoin pairs are so important. Should you buy an altcoin through Bitcoin or USDT? That doesn't really matter. You analyze your altcoin against Bitcoin and USDT or ETH to derive important entry points. It's all about what is your target. So if you want to increase your Bitcoin in a bull cycle, you're going to analyze against Bitcoin to see whether it's going to outperform Bitcoin or not. If you want to increase your Binance coin, you're going to analyze in the Binance coin pair. ETH, all the same. How you buy it, through Turkish lira, gold, silver, paper, mentals, Snickers, whatever, or USD or Dogecoin, doesn't really matter because you still buy the exact same asset. You don't buy something else. Chainlink against Bitcoin or Chainlink against USDT is the exact same asset you're buying. You're not buying a different Chainlink. So it's the same as buying a Tesla or an Audi RS5 through Bitcoin or USDT. You still own the exact same car. So I hope that that's the overall importance here, is that you analyze in different pairs, but how you buy it doesn't matter. How to value an altcoin right now is the final topic that I'd like to discuss. Is it's very important to realize that all the USD values will all be going above 2017 numbers as the market is in a new phase, a new cycle. So that's why Bitcoin is breaking through the all-time high in 2017 and goes to a new one in the coming years. Ethereum is breaking above the all-time high in 2017 and it goes into a ballistic move to new numbers because of the network effect that is getting into play here as crypto adoption is increasing heavily. That will happen to almost everything in the crypto cycle, which means that everything is going to numbers not seen before, through which valuing something in US dollar is very complex to do, and the only way you can do it is comparing it to something outside of the crypto markets to see whether it's still a reasonable price that we have, which is complex and we get different metrics for it. But inside the cryptocurrency market, in a bull cycle, the Bitcoin value is the key metric that you should be looking at, which means that valuing your altcoin in USD is very complex to do, and that's why you're going to look at it in a Bitcoin pair, and that's why you're also going to analyze it more in the Bitcoin pair rather than the USD pair, given the fact that it's hard to measure values through the USD pair in general. Of course, you can still use support, resistance, flips, etc., but the core focus should be the Bitcoin pair. So, the end game or the conclusion is Bitcoin pairs can show you whether the altcoin is under or overvalued to Bitcoin, and I think we can show some charts in which we can derive that information. So let's get to the charts and let's get some more going here. Alright, so as stated, the charts, and if you want to understand why Bitcoin pairs are so important, there's one altcoin that literally shows you why altcoin cycles happen and why the Bitcoin values usually come down heavily. Dogecoin. And I'm not going to discuss Dogecoin today for the current price action, but it shows that in this range you can argue that the actual altcoin is undervalued compared to Bitcoin. Well, when it starts to run, it becomes overvalued to Bitcoin, through which you can start making significant profits by trading these altcoin cycles well. So in the USD values, they never come back to the previous level, especially not in a bull cycle. But with the Bitcoin values, they can come back heavily because Bitcoin is outperforming the altcoin. So you can see that over here on the lows, that Dogecoin against Bitcoin is relatively undervalued. While when we start to run, it becomes overvalued. So why should you be interested in that altcoin when it's at the lows here, right? So these happen multiple times in a year, but you can also see on different altcoins that there are different cycles. So for instance, Aave has been showing strength, and then during the last quarter of last year, we crashed down heavily in the Bitcoin pair, and then we saw another run in the Bitcoin pair, and we crashed again. When we are looking at altcoins at this stage, we can see that we are literally on the start of a bull cycle. So the arguments bull bear, the Bitcoin pairs are literally just starting out of a very long bear market, and we can see that ZRX but also different altcoins are still down heavily from their all-time high. So ZRX in this case in the Bitcoin pair is down 80%. So that would grant you a massive opportunity to buy, especially if you're looking at 100-day and 200-day MA, which are also flipping at this stage. However, if you're going to look at ZRX against USD, you can see that we're getting into all-time high regions. And if you're using this as your only reference point, you're like, yeah, but bro, it's just overvalued. I'm not going to buy it because of that. But this is not too valuable at this stage, because this is the one you should be looking at, as everything is going to break above the 2017 all-time highs. And how can you value then? You can value it through the Bitcoin pairs. Similarly, one of the positions I have personally is Swipe. You can see that we're currently breaking above the previous all-time high in 2020 in the summer of that stage, and you can see that we're probably going to break into further price discovery, which would also argue to you this is not an entry point because it's around an all-time high. But then if you swap to the Bitcoin pair, you can see that it's just literally starting a bull cycle. So this means that in this range, you should be interested in Swipe against Bitcoin. In this range, you should not become interested. However, probably most of you will become interested when it gets here. So, as a conclusion, I hope you have got some information out of this update. Let me know it in the comments as well. If you have any questions, just post. We're going to discuss this on Monday in the live stream as well, so you can post them there too. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to comment, and enjoy your weekend. And I'll be back tomorrow with a fresh new updates.